Jeffrey Deskovic. I'm from New York. I was accused at 16 years of age. I was 17 at the time that I was wrongfully convicted of a murder and rape. My conviction was based upon a coerced false confession that was obtained from me after many hours of interrogation, fraud by the medical examiner, prosecutorial misconduct, and an inept public defender. The conviction happened despite a pre-trial negative DNA exclusion. I lost all of my appeals. Ultimately, I was exonerated 16 years later because I was able to get further DNA testing via the data bank, which not only reaffirmed my innocence but also identified the actual perpetrator. On September 20th, 2006, my conviction was overturned and I was released. I went back to court November 2nd, 2006, at which point all the charges against me were dismissed on the grounds of actual innocence. I lost most of my friends when I was convicted. I had a couple of friends that stuck with me for a couple of years, but eventually what typically happens in most of the cases, your friends and your family, they all fall by the wayside and you end up really essentially by yourself. My mother was the only one who consistently came to see me, but in the last 6 years, I was lucky if I saw her once every 6 months. Relations with my family, that was one thing. Missing the natural cycles of life. Births, deaths, graduation, the prom, getting education and working on a career, all at an ordinary point of life where that normally happens. And then, of course, there's psychological after effects of being wrongfully imprisoned. The judge told me that said that I was the conviction had been overturned, that I was free to leave, and I got ready to get up to leave the courtroom, and after I took a step, just the enormity of the moment kind of hit me, and I had to sit back down, and I just was kind of like overcome with the moment. I just mentally couldn't accept that this was over. So I sat there for about 20 minutes. They cleared the courtroom. I think the bailiffs realized I was going through a mental difficulty. After the 20 minutes was up, I got up and I started to walk towards the door, and with each step that I took and nobody stopped me, it became more and more real. I remember when I stepped outside of the courtroom, it was a really nice blue sky. There wasn't a cloud to be seen. The sun was on my face, and I was greeted not just by my extended family, but a lot of the students and volunteers and staff of the Innocence Project, and they all were clapping that I had made it. And when it was time to speak at the press conference, which was just a few feet from there, when it was my turn to speak, I gave a off-the-cuff 2.5-hour spiel of everything I ever wanted to say over the years, but could never quite get anyone to hear me. It felt really surreal. Those were actually my first words of freedom. I stepped to the microphone and I actually asked, is this really happening?